How does it feel that your book turned into such a huge Hollywood production?
Well, it feels great because it's the Premier League team. I mean, you have Stephen Frears directing and you have Dame Judi Dench as Victoria. It doesn't get better than that.
That's true. That's true. You're an Oscar winner, and also the screenwriter was also nominated for an Oscar.
Of course.
Tell me the process when your book turns into a script. How does that work?
Well, it works if you have a good screenplay writer like we did with Lee Hall. He really distills the book because the book has a lot of layers and it can, you have the luxury to write a lot in the book. But for a film, you have to distill it, you have to make it a story that will be told in 100 minutes or, whatever. And I think he is so talented that he's managed to get all the main plot points. It is like 80% of the book. You tweak a few incidents. He's kept it funny, it's lively, it doesn't, it doesn't drag at any moment, and it's still telling a story of 13 years in a very seamless way, with a lot of humor, and I think it's also quite sad.
Yes, it's very touching. I really like the book, and I was very fascinated to know that you have a fascination about history and about that part. How did you stumble upon these documents?
Well, it was a long process. It took me 4 years. But once I started digging around, I went to Windsor Castle. I asked to see the Queen's journals. So these are the Queen Victoria's journals. I also asked to see her Hindustani journals. And these are journals kept in Urdu. These are the ones she maintained with Abdul Karim. One of the few things people just don't know is that Queen Victoria learned to read and write in Urdu. And she did this over 13 years. It was amazing to see these 13 volumes in which they record the little things of their life. She writes, I'm going to meet the Munshi's wife and have tea. Or the Munshi's cat has had kittens and I need to go and see the kittens. I mean, this is like two friends talking, not the Empress of India and not a clerk from Agra jail. And all that brought the relationship alive for me.
And what about that very poignant moment, without giving the film away, where she feels that he lied to her? How did you find that about?
Well, that's a bit of fiction in the film, actually.
Oh, okay, good to know, because I was really mad that he lied to her.
No, they keep saying he's lied to her. That's what the household tell her, in actual fact. And they say he's lied about his father, and he hasn't. He never said his father is the Surgeon General. Some of it is lost in translation. It's like you see these opening scenes where she goes, you're a poet, just because he's quoting something,
Right,
things are lost in translation. Right. And he never made big claims. It was always evident that his father was a hospital assistant who could do minor operations. And that's what it was. But, well, the film, has to have some drama.
So it's a little bit of drama in there.
Yeah, naturally.
Okay, got it. So in terms of the film itself, what was perhaps your favorite part of the film once you saw it?
Well, I loved the strike scene because I enjoyed writing that strike scene. It was, to me, Victoria at her feisty best when her household dared to come and say, we're going to collectively resign, and she just slams them all, throws everything. And it's just done so well with Judi Dench.
Absolutely, and it was, she's definitely an award winner. For a reason,
absolutely. She owns that role and she brings out all the layers in that role, I think. The Queen is sad, her loneliness, her anger, her frustration. I think it's all brought out so well by her.
So tell me about some of the other projects that you've been involved with.
Well, I like to write about these obscure, forgotten people, in history, who've actually played really important roles. So one of my books is called Spy Princess. It's a biography of Noor Inayat Khan, who was a secret agent in the Second World War. And nobody knew about her. I mean, they do now, but, she was just forgotten by history, and she was awarded the George Cross. She fought fascism. She's a war heroine, and, she's Indian. So it meant a lot that her story was told, because she was killed in this. She sacrificed her life.
So how do you stumble upon these stories? You just read ferociously, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm a very curious journalist. I like to go find these hidden stories.
So what's next?
I wrote a book about, after this, I wrote a book about Indian involvement in the First World War. And it was about stories of these soldiers who come from these villages of India and then go to these trenches. And it's following the personal lives of these soldiers. And it's something that I really enjoyed doing. And I think that story itself is also so important, because everywhere we are commemorating now the centenary of the First World War, and the Indians are just going to be lost their stories. So 1.5 million Indians came to the West, fought on behalf of the British, and they've got to be recognized for it. So I feel very strongly about all these things. So all my stories are on these lines.
I think that's
guess.
fantastic. So what kind of research do you put in? How much time does it take you?
It takes me about 3 or 4 years to write each book.